Hello everyone, welcome to episode 4 of the Shed End podcast. My name's Gareth McCullough, his name's Ally Mackenzie. This week we've got 3 games to talk about. The last 2 away to Ballyclare and at home to Dundela, and we look forward to the Annagh United game this weekend before we get our special guest on for the second part. So we'll go to the furthest game back, which was Ballyclare away. Now, as you'll know from the previous podcast, Ali wasn't there because he was gallivanting over in London, having his honeymoon with lovely Louise, and I was doing other stuff. I was working, so neither of us got to it, but we saw the highlights and we're probably glad we didn't get to it since we got beaten 1-0. By all reports, not a great day at the office. Not a flat performance, but just sort of one of those ones where it's just not happening for us at the moment.
Yeah, I think so. I had texted Stephen Beattie and just said, give me any updates, and apparently there were no updates to let me know about.
Did he just forget to text it?
I think he's just miserable, wouldn't text me. But yeah, from the sounds of it, just, it was one of those games where we offered nothing. And we said it before, like we said it a couple of weeks ago, that Ballyclare, it's always a tight game against them, and it always seems to be a 1-0 or something. So, and that's what it proved to be. But I actually thought that we'd have enough, especially after the 1-point game. Going into that, I felt confident that we could go up there. Yeah. But as we said, it's a tough place to go, and the pitch isn't great. Yeah. And there's a lot of factors in there. But I think if you go up there and you just don't play well enough, you don't deserve to win. Yeah. And unfortunately, it was a defeat. Probably should have been a draw from all accounts.
Yeah, I think we missed a couple of good chances. I know Dingo had one. I think Darren said Noel had a great chance. They probably should have scored. I think he's destined maybe not to score a competitive goal this season the way he's going. Tommy Lockard obviously went off injured very early on after about 10 or 15 minutes, which is going to be a blow. So he missed the Dundela game, so hopefully he get him back for the next game. But given that we weren't at it, I'm always a stickler, as anybody will know, that you can't really comment in a game that you weren't at. So I think we'll move swiftly on.
Just before that though, a massive shout out to the fans, because apparently in the second half, for the last 20 minutes, they never stopped singing, and they kept singing "Yuri away, away, away" constantly for the 20 minutes with the drum going, and for the 40 or 50 that travelled up there, fair play to them, because it's it is a long enough journey. And I'd say they're well oiled in the way up, and the wee bar across the street, which is Ballyclare is always a great place to go, to be fair. It's one of the best away trips. But they kept singing the whole way, and it's something Darren commented about on Twitter actually as well. He said, for that level of support, we need to have the performances to pay that back. So hopefully we get them in the next couple of weeks. But when you look at it, it's not the end of the world. It's a defeat. Okay, it's back-to-back defeats in the league, but this is going to be a long season, and there's plenty of time to make it up.
Well, I'd say given the week that's in it, it's a marathon and not a sprint. Just for anybody that has been living under a rock and doesn't have any social media, I'm doing the Belfast Marathon this weekend, so hence why I'm saying that, and I can't wait for pints and pizza afterwards. But that sort of cliched saying, we started off the season at 100 mile an hour, won our first 6 league games, and by comparison, obviously it looks really poor the last few weeks, and while the performances haven't been good, it's probably better to just sort of put it into context and say, right, it's a long season, we're still joint top, it's still in our own hands, so we just need to maybe realise it and strike the balance of, Darren's always got this saying where you don't get too high whenever you win games and don't get too low when you lose them. So he's very conscious of maintaining that sort of striking that right balance where you want to pick up the level of performance, and you want the players to be annoyed, and you want the supporters to be annoyed if you lose a game, but you just need to maybe realise that we're still up there, and performances will pick up eventually. Yeah,
and I mean, obviously the past couple of results have gone against us, but if you look at it, the Queen's result went for us, because it could have been 1-1. Ards down here could have ended 1-1, but we managed to squeeze another goal at the end of that game. So these games go for you and they go against you. Yeah. But just the fact that Darren will have addressed that, and the boys know what needs to be done. But we are in the league, and we're at that level where you are going to lose games. You're not good enough to win every game. You're not good enough to go undefeated, because it just can't happen at this level. So hopefully you can stop that, nip it in the bud, and get moving on with a win here on Friday.
So moving on, we will move on to the Dundela game, a most recent game at home here at the showgrounds on Saturday, 1 each. Mark Kelly scores a late equaliser. Now, I obviously
big goal, Mark Kelly.
Yeah, he's popped up with a couple this season. I did particularly like the celebration when he ran away, giving it the aren't I great, and then realise, oh shit, the ball's in the back of the net. We need to win. There's still a couple of minutes to go here. To be fair, but so he managed to get the balance of both. I think from interviewing Darren after the game, he was so disappointed. He was so annoyed, frustrated. He said that the late equaliser, it still feels like a defeat. The late equaliser hasn't changed his mood, hadn't pacified him. His words actually were, that was the most frustrating performance of the season. He says worse than the Ballymallard one. Now,
that's interesting.
I think he probably meant, to put it in context, probably meant more frustrating in the fact that we had a lot of the ball, we had a lot of possession. Ballymallard were right played from start to finish. Against Dundela on Saturday, you knew what they were going to bring. They've obviously a new manager in Curry. They'd beaten Carrick from the Premiership during the week in the County Antrim Shield, so they're on a little bit of an upturn. Then we know that they had all their sort of experienced Premiership signings. Not Jordan Owens, Kyle Owens, Tony Kane, Johnny Taylor, all those sort of guys that were of all Premiership experience in the team. You knew they were going to go long and be direct and be physical. And we still sort of, succumb to set pieces, which was good, I suppose. But conceded a really soft goal where it's just one pass through the middle and he's allowed space to poke it through with so many chances. But there's a pivotal point in the game, and I'm sure Philly Donnelly won't want to be reminded of it. But it's one of those ones where you're 0-0. I think 50 just before the hour mark. James Healan does well down the right hand side, crosses it in. Keeper's sort of no man's land. A keeper actually had a very, very good game that day. But you got Philly and Dingo queuing up to knock it in from the edge of the 6-yard box, and I think Philly was close to hitting this window behind us. So if anybody can see, you'll
I think his ball mark's just there. We'll get a close up of it after.
I mean, how 99 times out of 100 it's in the back of the net.
Yeah.
Now 0-0 at that point. If that goes in, it's 1-0. You would like to think it's a completely different game. Philly doesn't need reminding how bad a miss it was. He doesn't quite intend to miss. I thought he was still very good on Saturday. He gives us a really different dimension. But it's just those small things that we could be sitting here going, we won 3-0.
It's funny how in previous games when it was going for you, that would hit the back of the net. But when the pressure's on and all of a sudden you're snatching at it and you're just maybe not as relaxed as you could be. But where it all comes from, like you said, it was conceding a naff goal, to be honest. And even
nice use of naff. That's a real 90s term.
One. Yeah. But at the start of the season, I remember we had the debate. It was like, does it matter if you concede goals when you're winning? But we conceded a few silly goals at the start of the season, and I remember saying at the time that those goals don't matter when you're 3 or 4 up. But when it's a 0-0 game like Saturday and you can see the silly goal, then it's going to come back to bite you, and it did. Thankfully, Big Mark popped up. But I mean, we should have won that game comfortably. The keeper pulled off a good save in the first half, as far as I remember, coming in from the left wing here. I think it was Young John. It was a decent save and had a couple of other half chances. Really, probably should have been well up. Philly had a chance down there where you worked the ball really well on the chest and turned around and volleyed. It would have been a spectacular goal. But again, you have to count it as a chance. So I think once our forward line find their scoring boots again, we'll be flying. But we just need to score goals. If we're going to concede goals like that, it's like Harry Redknapp says, you just need to score one more than them.
Well, that's the thing. It's sort of dried up a wee bit in terms of the goals that we were scoring. A lot of goals earlier in the season, and we weren't conceding. So you were getting the best of both worlds. Now we're getting neither of those worlds because, as you said, we're conceding maybe sloppy goals and
naff goals.
I prefer to be more professional and call it naff. I'm too old to be down with the kids, Ally, and so are you, to be quite honest. But I mean, you've completely thrown me. But as you say, if we can see those naff goals, you've got to be putting the chances away at the other end. I mean, one feature, Dingo I thought played quite well on Saturday, but he was dropping very deep. He was picking up the ball and trying to create, and that's always a sign of a striker who's probably frustrated that he's not getting the chances. Now, he's a fantastic player in terms of dragging defenders out with him and creating space for other people, but you'd like him to be probably slightly further up, and I'm sure Darren's probably told him that. But I still think there was enough there. Looking forward to the Annagh game on Friday night to build on. You'll have, Ryan McGivern was an unused sub. I would say he's likely to be back in. Moner was an unused sub. Sammy McAveen was an unused sub. You had possibly Thomas Lockhart back from injury. Mark Kelly more minutes under his belt. Possibly Jimmy Walker back from injury. So
I mean, when you talk about that, there's 5 or 6 integral players that started every game for the first 6.
Yeah, so I mean it gives you more strength and depth, gives you more options. A word for Brian Healy, who made his first league start and actually started sort of attacking midfield, and for a 17-year-old kid, I mean he plays with so much experience on his shoulders. Still a very, very raw, but I thought he was excellent in what he did. Probably tired a bit, but he got a good aura out of him, and you know, he was able to move around and play, you know, that attacking midfield role, drop back to help out and move up front as well and play wide. So he got experience in a lot of different positions at a good high level. So I mean, I think he's going to be a fabulous player for us.
Absolutely.
But I mean, looking at the Annagh game, if you got all those players back or certainly available, or certainly fighting for a starting spot. I mean, obviously one of the other things that Darren said, you know, I asked him, do you expect changes? You know, are you going to make changes? He says, well, I can't stand here and criticise the performance and what they did, he says, and then not make changes. So there will be changes.
And what would you like to see? From your point of view, like what changes would you like to see?
I think I would say simply for the experience. I don't think any of the 3 lads at centre back were poor by any stretch of imagination on Saturday, but I think for experience I'd like to see Ryan back in. You know, it's a tight pitch. I just think he could be important. If Tommy Lockhart's fit, he probably wouldn't be fit enough for the bench. You know, I think we need legs in midfield as well. You know, we need a bit more dynamism in midfield. I mean, you've got Philly there, and Hughesy, Decky, and Samuel McAveen, or Studsy, just for anyone that doesn't know. They're all super footballers, and they all have their own really positive facets, but they'd all be probably, you know, fair enough to admit that they aren't the quickest on their feet. And you know, we do need that. Philly can't do that. Philly's playing more forward, so I think we need something more like that in midfield. But that's just our guest announcing himself while we do our first part. So our guest, we'll reveal our guest shortly, but we better not be. Let's just say we better not be too critical while he's standing waiting. But I mean, to be honest, I can't wait till Gary Boyle takes over. We'll leave it at that. Well, hopefully the microphone picked that up. But yeah, I mean, looking forward to the Annagh game. You know, I think it's also important to get back to winning ways. I mean, that's an obvious thing, but I mean, if you get back to winning ways there against a team that are flying, to be honest, against you know, a team that have only just got promoted. You know, got promoted 2 seasons ago, but obviously didn't play last season, are doing very well. They're beating us there in the Ulster Cup on that surface. It's a good surface, but it's a tight pitch. You know, it's an added thing that we get 3 points, but it boosts confidence massively. It's different, with the greatest respect, than if you're going to Knockbreda or, you know, even a Queen's again and getting a result. While as good as that would be, to get a result against Annagh would be fantastic. You know, and the capability to do it. We just need to get back on the horse again, as I say. Yeah,
it's the best way of, I suppose, righting all the wrongs of the past couple of weeks, is beating a team who we predicted that would be the top 5 this season. So you know, we need to go for it, and especially on that pitch too. Get big Mark Kelly up there, get him scoring his poacher's tap-ins, because you know, that's what we need. Big man in the box, tap it in, whatever way they come. I don't care who scores it.
And just a shout out to one of our viewers, Mo Ruddy, who commented on the forums after the result on Saturday. And he said, I blame the half of the podcast that said we'd run away with the league. So thankfully that wasn't me. So anything to say for yourself? Or say it to Mo?
Mo, you'll be thanking me at the end of the season, that's all I'll say. Keep the faith, Mo.
But folks, that'll wrap us up for the first part of episode 4. And if you join us in the second part for our special guest, which you might just have guessed who it is. See you soon.